everybody out there. Welcome to Creating Your Career with Marla J. Alberti. I am super excited, as I always am, for episode 14. Guys, can you believe it's been 14 episodes, 14 months? Well, here we are with episode 14, and I am extra super excited to interview Kristin Paul. Go ahead and say hey, everybody, Kristin.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Yay! Okay, so as you know, guys, I love to jump right in, but I like to tell everyone how I met the people because I'm big on meeting people and networking, as you should do. Hint, hint. So me and Kristin have a very close mutual friend, Faith Joyner. If you have not, I'll put in the plug. If you have not checked out my interview with Faith, I did an interview. I think she's episode 4, 5, or 6. I don't remember. But go back in the episodes and look at Faith's interview. But I met her via Faith, and I was interested in what she's doing, and we're going to talk about what Kristin is doing. So let's go ahead and start off with reading her bio. So I'm going to, as you guys know, I like to read it verbatim so you can get all the good information. Kristin Paul has spent her life helping others succeed. She is a wife, mother of 2 boys, and a domestic violence survivor and advocate. Love it. She owns Purple Ribbon Publishing, which she's going to talk about, where she publishes books from like-minded authors whose goal is to raise awareness to domestic violence, give survivors a voice and empower them, and promote overall well-being. I cannot wait to hear about this, Kristin. Kristin has written Feeling Yourself Financially, A Woman's Guide to Rebuilding Her Finances After Divorce, based on her own experiences in order to help other women achieve financial freedom. She has also written Drowning under her pen name, Caitlin Maloney. Drowning deals with raising awareness to domestic violence. So Kristin's going to talk more about that. Kristin has earned her master's degree in banking and finance from the University of Alabama. Go Alabama. She had my mom's side of the family is from Alabama, so I have to like them. You know, even though I'm an FSU fan because my cousins go there. But anyway, it's another story. Cool. She has been an investment executive and a finance and economics college professor. Kristin's website is purpleribbonpublishing.com. You'll find information about her books and links to helpful tips of overcoming financial hardship and learning how to thrive financially. Welcome, Kristin. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. I am great. So I'm super excited because Kristin, as you guys know, along with all my other guests, have a lot going on. So yeah. I want to jump right in, Kristin. Tell us, how did you begin? Tell us, where did you get your humble beginnings from? Give us a history up until now.
Okay. Well, first of all, I grew up in Western New York, which is also snow country. So I'm really excited to live in Florida now.
Yay!
Yes, very excited. But I did go south, and it gave me a taste of good weather when I went to the University of Alabama. And then I went back north, though, to become an investment executive. And after I did that a few years, I switched over into teaching. So what I really liked about both was the aspect of helping others. I've always wanted to help others, but I didn't realize that was a real passion of mine. So.
Okay, and so tell us a little bit about that. The reason I said about Alabama, because I've been to Alabama, I know all about Alabama, and I know you're really excited, like you said, to be in Florida now. It's a big difference from up New York. I don't think I can handle all that snow. I don't think I could do it.
I couldn't deal with it.
But that's another story, though.
Yes.
So tell us now, what is Kristin doing? We talked about Purple Ribbon Publishing. So tell us about that and how you started out with investment banking. And how did that lead over into publishing? That's a big difference, a big gap there.
Very big difference. What happened was when I was teaching, I was in an abusive relationship, a marriage, and I ended up leaving my abuser. What I did was I had this idea for a novel, and that has nothing to do with investments, and it has nothing to do with finance, but I had this passion to write this novel. I had this story in my head, and it would just not go away. So that was my novel, Drowning, and it took many years to actually write it because I was working full-time and part-time as a professor. So it took a long time to write the book, but I knew I had to write it because I knew I wanted to give victims and survivors a voice. It was just something that I had to do. I was very motivated. So I ended up going through the editing process and getting it all set to be published. And this is where my publishing part comes in. I had to decide whether I wanted to go the traditional route or if I wanted to just self-publish under my name or if I wanted to start a publishing company. So I decided that I would start my own publishing company because then I had a platform to work off of. So it started out just as me. I just thought, well, I'm going to start this this little company, give myself a platform to work from. And Purple Ribbon, as you know, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, is the color is purple. So I thought purple, and we have the ribbons. So I thought, oh, I'll name it Purple Ribbon. So that's how it started.
Okay. All right. So I have, oh, wow. So guys, this is good because I have questions bubbling in my brain. You guys know how I am. So this is really good. First off, guys, did you hear how she said she had the idea already nesting in her for a long time? So I love how you stepped outside of your box and said, I got to do this. But let's talk about those three. I'm going to veer to the left a little bit. Let's talk about those three options. You said you could self-publish, you could do traditional publishing, or start a publishing company.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about each, and why did you decide ultimately starting a publishing company was the best one? Because to me, and I'm sure maybe out to the rest of the world, that would be the hardest one to me. So break that down for us.
That's actually that's a really good point. I talked to an agent. She gave me the best advice she possibly could have. She said to me, are you an author who has a passion for domestic violence awareness, or are you a domestic violence advocate who also is an author? And I thought, interesting. I said, well, actually, I wrote the book because I want to help other people. So she said, you are an advocate who is also an author. And she said, if you're an author and you're going to write 20 books, you're going to have a long career in just writing, she said, then you should go the traditional route. But if you are an advocate who is also an author and has books, she said, what you're going to find yourself doing is you want to get speaking engagements, talk about domestic violence, and sell your books. And I said, that's exactly what I want to do, because I want to use my book to be able to get into places. Like, I've spoken to a lot of women's groups, a lot of church groups, and colleges, which is one of my big passions. So I used drowning to get my foot in the door. So she was 100% correct. And then, so I could have just self-published, and a lot of people do that, and that's great. I felt like there was more to this, though. I knew I wanted to write a nonfiction book, and I also knew I wanted to write other books related to domestic violence. So I thought, I think my identity and my platform are bigger than just one book. So that's why I decided to start my own actual company and pursue writing different books. And it was a little ways into when after I published Drowning, that I decided, why don't I do this for other people that have similar books, or books that are empowering women? So that's kind of how the whole thing took off.
Wow. Okay. Okay, guys. There's a lot of nuggets in that. So I hope everyone was listening. So let me try to break down some of that. So first off, you said you got advice from another agent, and she put a question out there to you. Are you an advocate, or are you an author? And I love how you said that you're an advocate first, because you're going to always be the advocate. The author is just something that spun off from being an advocate. Yes, you're an author, but that your main thing is the advocate piece, to go out and speak to the university, speak to different women's groups, speak to women that you can help. But then you said, okay, wait a minute, this author thing, I can set up a platform to help other women do the same, or men and women maybe do the same thing, help them get published. So I also love how you said you're not limiting yourself. Basically, you now have more books and more that you're doing. So give us a little bit, tell us a little bit more about that. If someone wanted to come to you and say, okay, I want to publish a book, where do they begin? Where do they start? What do they do? And does their book have to be related to domestic violence?
It doesn't have to be related to domestic violence. What I'm looking for are books that empower women, which is a pretty broad category. Faith, who is I'm her biggest fan, she does marriage books, and I think that's a wonderful way to empower women. I have another woman that is under contract that she's doing elder abuse. So that's just another factor. Very interesting, because that's not really talked about very often. And then my other book in my name, Kristin Paul, is about dealing with financial freedom, especially after a divorce. Then Faith has another book about marriage. And then I'm writing another book that it's a novel, but it deals with college dating. So it's the broad spectrum is anything that empowers women. I have another woman that has just an incredible story about how she has started her own domestic violence organization. She's on the back burner right now because she's dealing with some other things, but she's amazing, and she's perfect for Purple Ribbon. So it's broad, but everyone has the same goal.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
And that is, did you hear that, guys? Everyone has a goal to move forward towards empowering women. Now, one
exactly.
key thing I heard you say, me being a coach, I'm trained to hear stuff. You said that, and this was also a theme that because I interviewed another publisher that I
Hmm.
actually was in an anthology with.
Hmm.
The book's back there in the back if you guys can see it. Plug, plug, plug. 100 business ideas back there. But he did the same thing. He wrote a book first, just like what you said. You wrote a book first, then you got your publishing company. Can you tell the audience, is that important to have your own book under your own belt before you go and start a publishing company? Or how has that experience been for you? Do you think that was the best way to do it? Or do you just get people on board and then start?
It's such a learning curve.
Yeah.
That definitely going through it myself, making any mistakes on my own book, is definitely the way to go, because you learn the whole process, and you're doing it without time constraints. You're doing it without another person depending on you with their baby, with their book. So
Right.
I would strongly recommend, if you wanted to start a publishing company, definitely start with your own book. Make the mistakes with that. It's a
Right.
learning curve, but it's a great way to learn the business.
Okay. I love that because I'm not interested. I'm telling you now, I'm not interested in starting a publishing company.
Hmm.
Seems like it's just a lot of extra work. I'm not, I'm interested in writing and authoring, of course. I'm an author,
Yes.
so I'm interested in that, but I don't know if I could handle the publishing part of it. That's why I was
Hmm.
just curious as to, it seems like to me you need to have your own book first and then move into how to help others. This is really good, guys. So anyone that's interested in starting their own publishing company, being an advocate for domestic violence,
Hmm.
or even being and I know we haven't talked much about it, but the investment field, the financial realm, are you still? Let me sidebar a little bit. Are you still in that realm at all, or no?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
I stopped teaching once well, actually, when I moved to Florida,
Okay.
and I did a little bit of online teaching, and then
Okay.
I just started writing full time, and then I started writing and publishing. So,
Okay. Okay. Cool. I just wanted to make sure. I want to cover all bases for anyone that's out there creating their career. So
yeah.
so tell the world, if I want to get into starting a publishing company, or
Hmm.
just even like you said, yeah, there's three areas. You said self, traditional, or publishing company.
Yes.
So how can someone that's brand new, that has a book idea, like you said, that's in their belly, that they got to get it out? Where do they begin? What do they do? Do they just start typing in Word and talk to an agent? What do they do? What do they
Well,
take? How do they start this?
I'll tell you, basically, what you have to do is you just have to start writing. You have to get a really, really good book, first of all. You just have to start writing. A couple of big things, to me anyways, is after you actually finish the book, which is a huge job, you have to get it content edited, copy edited, and proofread. So what you're bringing to the market is the best book you can, because once it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah.
So that's one part. And then you really have to decide for traditional publishing, are you going to write several books where they've got you for a long time, like they might contract you for 3 or 4 books? Or do you just, like me, do you want to just focus on one book at a time because you want to talk about that book and go to places and, preach about it, basically? So if you're going to do that route, the self-publishing, there's so much information out there that will help you. There are conferences you can go to, there are webinars, there are books, and Google is your best friend because there are so many articles out there that will help you self-publish. So I think I answered your questions. I think
No,
there was
no,
one
this is great.
more.
I have a lot bubbling up just out of that.
Uh-huh.
So the first thing, guys, if you guys weren't listening to that, start writing. So I'm a
Yes.
big proponent on starting. It's all about.
Yes.
I hear you guys hear me talk about this every single talk show. Start. I don't have. Guys, look, I don't have the perfect setup. I'm not in a studio downtown in a big office. I'm in my house with lights. You got to start somewhere.
Yes.
People want content. People care about how to help them. That is what the adult learner wants to know, is how is it going to inspire and help them. So there's something inside of you that you may need to write about that's going to help someone else. So start, start, start. I love when you said write a really good book. Let me stop right there. What is a really good book? What constitutes a really good book?
Good question. I think, let me use an example. I have a really good friend who was so excited for me to publish, and she said, "You've got to get drowning out there. You've got to get it out there." And I said, "Nope, not yet." And she's like, "Why?" She had read it, probably multiple times, and I said, "It's not there yet. I know it's not there yet." And I think it's something that you can have other people obviously give you feedback, which is a huge help, but it's in your gut. I really believe that people know when it's the best they can do.
Right.
And for me, it took a long time because I am not an English major. I was totally other side of the brain. So that is not even my strength. So I really depended on content editing. But in the end, it's really trusting your gut. Do you feel like this is the best you can do? And at that point, with me, that was as I had gone through content editing, but I still needed it copy edited and proofread. So, but I had done my part, I felt like at that point. I had given the best I could. Other people could clean up the grammar and the punctuation and the commas, which is my thing. I think it's just doing the best you can. And you kind of know when you're done, or you can't even look at the book anymore because you're like, I can't look at this. I've looked at it a million times. So trust your gut.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you said that because I have my quick little story. Even with my book back there, 52 Career Tips, Action Steps to Move You Forward, I thought it was great. And then I have a close friend of mine. She just edits because she loves editing. She's a grammar freak. She loves this stuff.
Oh, wow.
And she tore the book apart. I mean, she literally tore it apart. I mean, we had to have a lot of Starbucks sessions to sit down for her to tear the book apart. But it really made me think. I'm like, okay. She's like, I know what you're trying to say, but that's not how you want to say it right there. I know, so you're right. You have to start, get it out there, but then go back and and like you know in your gut that that's not, okay, this is it. I gotta get it right. So I love how you said that. Also, too, I love how you gave the example of getting out there, going to conferences, webinars, starting out on Google. You got to do your own research for it. Let me ask this because I want to talk about skills. I love to hear about skills. So you just said, okay, I'm not an English major. So that is not your strength, right? So what skills does someone need to develop to even start writing? Because I've watched many videos, webinars, and they all say anyone can be an author. Everyone has a book inside of them. I'm sure everyone does have a book inside of them, but not everyone can be an author because you got to put in the skill set and the mindset to do it.
Yes.
So what skills does someone need to develop or work on to develop and start going into this authorship area?
Mm-hmm. One thing that I think was a big advantage to me was that I read a lot. So I've always been an avid reader. Fiction, mostly. A little bit of nonfiction, but fiction and similar genre to what I ended up writing. And to me, that was a really big positive. I think if I wasn't a reader, I never would have written a book. I don't believe that. So you really have to be at least comfortable with, obviously, with the written word. English wasn't my strength, but it wasn't a weakness, really. It was just kind of, I'm average, I would say. I'm better at math than English. So skills, I think passion is a big thing because I was very, very passionate about this book. I had actually dreamed the story.
Wow.
And it just stuck in my head, and it was like this video going over and over in my head. It was like a movie playing. So I had more passion probably than the average person because I had this movie stuck in my head. So, and it was kind of easy to write though, because I would sit down and it was like, okay, I'm at this part now, and I would write it. I think patience is another big thing because I wrote the whole book in the first person. So it was I, and then I put it aside for a while, and then I read it and I thought, oh, this is terrible. And I rewrote the whole book in the third person, and I liked that better. So a lot of patience, passion, and definitely reading other books in your genre is a huge advantage. And getting a lot of feedback from people. I actually joined an online critique group, and that helped a lot as well. So I would critique other people's, and at first I was a terrible critiquer. I could find like 2 or 3 errors. And then later on, as I got to experience that and I was educated with that, I was able to become a much better critiquer. So I was getting good critiques. And as I said, this was a very long process for me.
Right.
And you have to be patient and really stick it out. And I'm one of those people that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And that helps.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Okay, Kristin, this is really good. So let me just recap that really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, you know I am a huge advocate on reading. I talked about it at my conference
Mm-hmm.
earlier this year. If you're not reading something, it doesn't have to be a nonfiction book. It doesn't have to be a self-development book. Read something.
Yeah.
Read the Wall Street Journal. Read a magazine. Read something, because readers are writers. Writers are readers. I have not met a writer who does not read. And I'm talking about read daily. So I think that's important. And plus, reading does so much, guys. It expands our vocabulary. It introduces us into a whole new world. I love how you said passion, because when you said that, that reminded me of Stephanie Meyer. And you know, Stephanie Meyer had Twilight in her brain as a dream. It was a complete dream. All those books and all those series, that series was a dream. And now she's a multimillionaire. Go figure, right? So follow what's in your heart. Patience is really key, because nothing happens overnight. Nothing happens overnight. And I think, especially now in this society with all the millennials coming out, we want it right now. We want it. We want the book. We want to put the book out right now, and it's going to happen right now. That's not how it happens. You got to give yourself time. I love that. And I love how you said you were in a critique group. So really, really quick, where are those at? Do you just Google critique groups and find them? How do you get into a critique group to critique others, to help build your critiquing skills to make you a better editor?
Right. Well, there are online critique groups. The one I was in was called Scribophile, Scribophile, I believe. I'm not in that anymore, just because I feel I've actually moved on from that, which is good. And it takes a while to critique other people's work. But I pop on once in a while. So Scribophile, that's a critique group, and you basically build karma points. When you critique someone else's, then you can post yours to be critiqued, it's neat. It was fun, and I actually still am in contact with a couple of the people that I had critiqued. So we're in contact on Facebook, and we've read each other's books as well. But there's also critique groups that you could find in your area. So you might ask the library if they know of anyone, or you could ask, like, if there's a local editor, they might have a critique group that they could steer you to. And it's huge. It's just so important to get feedback from others.
Yes.
Because you think as you're writing, oh, this is great. There's no holes in my story. And then I get something back from my editor and it's full of holes. And I thought, I didn't even see that. So you really need other people's perspectives. Definitely.
I love that, because you're right. You think your work is the best thing on earth until someone else reads it, and they just like, this is good, but so I love that. So I'm definitely going to look up some of those critique groups.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
So let me just summarize. I do want to get to our fun question, but I do want to summarize everything, Kristin. This has been awesome. Kristin has taught us a lot today. She's taught us how she went from up north to down south, to teaching in finance, to writing her own book, getting out of a horrible situation with her ex-husband. Thank God she got out of that. There's many women that need to hear that, because there are many women that are in that situation right now. To now she's helping those women and helping other women empower women. That's what I'm all about. If you're not about empowering each other, that's just my mantra. How can we help each other? That I'm big on that. I could talk about that for days. And I love how you said, get out there and read, start, be an advocate first. Be an advocate for what you stand for. If you don't stand for anything, if people don't see the passion behind what you're doing, how are they going to follow you in that same passion if you don't have the same passion? You can't make someone have the passion. You have to have it. So you can't expect for your followers to do the same thing if you're not doing it. So I love that. So Kristin, before we get to our fun question, how can the world get in contact with you? How can they reach you?
Okay. My email is Kristin, it's Kristin, at purpleribbonpublishing.com, or you can go on my website, which is www.purpleribbonpublishing.com. And either of those, there's a contact form there that you can reach me. So I'd love to hear from you.
Okay, and guys, we're going to have that description down in the links. Don't forget, guys, if you want to be interviewed, email me, contact at truthspeakscoaching.com. Again, truthspeakscoaching.com. I'm always looking for people to interview. Right now, 2018 is full. I'm into 2019 right now for interviews. But guys, please reach out to me. Also, feel free to subscribe. If this video helped you out in any way, subscribe and hit your notifications button. still growing. I'm still building. So I got to believe in myself first before anybody else can do it. So I believe that we're going to move forward with this. So Kristin, thank you, thank you, thank you. But my last question is, I'm so nosy. So I want to know, what does the world need to know about Kristin? What's a fun fact that no one knows about Kristin that you want to share? That was legal. That was legal.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Legal stuff you did.
It's kind of goofy, but I am addicted to office supplies. I love Post-it notes. I love notebooks. I love colored pens. I think you are too. I have to use a different color pen for different things. Like my calendar is all quoted, and I can't get enough. Notebooks, stationery, office supplies. And it's funny because both of my sons are addicted as well. I don't know. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree or something.
You know, that is so funny because I'm the same way. And I have met so many people. Men and women. This has been funny. Men and women. I have met so many people that are the same. They love notebooks. Like, it's back to school time. And I go every year. I go into Target. They have a big, huge back to school section. I'm not going to anybody's classroom. I mean, I'm in school, but I'm not going to an 8th or 9th grade class. I get the notebooks for 10 cents. I'm telling you, I go to Target and Staples. Shout out to Target, shout out to Staples every single year and get office supplies. I am such an office supply freak. I am the same way.
It's funny.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with you. As a matter of fact, I should start an office supply group on Facebook. It's just an idea. But anyway, Kristin, thank you so much. This has been very powerful. I do these not only to have everyone else learn how to create their career so I can learn, because my one word is learn. I am big on learning things because that's the only way you're going to be able to move forward, even if it is a challenge for you. So I have learned a lot today. I learned that there's publishing platforms out there. I've learned that there is actually critiquing platforms, stuff that I didn't know anything about. So thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it, guys. And guys, check out next month. We'll have another awesome author. Episode 15, I have someone else lined up who's super duper awesome. Guys, thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate it, guys. Till next month. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.